Good evening to the students of Professor Burns's class. Like many of you on this Sunday night, I've done the laundry, cleaned up around the house, and packed away my things for another busy week. That week features our third Westlaw class of the semester, a class where we put cases, statutes, and secondary sources together on the Michigan Whistleblower Statute, which is the subject of your final memorandum. Like the last two classes, I had originally intended to do this one in person, but some very scary close calls on the interstate have forced me to be real about the amount in which I travel and whether I can do that safely. So let me bring this class to you in two different ways. First, as a pre-recorded version and as a live Google Hangout. So during our regularly scheduled class hour on Wednesday, I'll have that Google Hangout link open and I'll be there the entire hour for you to ask me questions and for us to work on things. So what will we work on if you'd like to talk again on Wednesday? The Michigan Whistleblower Statute is accessible, of course, from Westlaw by typing in the MCLA citation, which you'll have from your assigning memo. By way of review, however, you won't always have the citation, or the citation might not always be right. A couple different ways to get to the statute. First, by digging through the Statutes and Court Rules menu in Michigan, and using the Michigan Statutes Index for whistleblowing, and then accessing the statute through there. Even though it starts with the generally, right, that first section, the table of contents takes you to the relevant section that gives you the elements of the cause of action. This little gem is lit up by the side, the research recommendations, a Westlaw foray into AI, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. By way of review, reading the statute, the super browse button that gives you not just the text, but the context, because the answer could be in one of these other sections. A statute also has different versions throughout a series of time. Noticing, however, here that your professor has decided to go easy on you here in this first semester because this thing has been the law since 1981, and the graphical statute would tell you as much so that you don't have that Batman problem like we talked about by way of review. A statute has notes of decisions, right? Those common law decisions that interpret phrases in the statute, like what is protected activity to make out a prima facie case. Quality right there. You could also search for a particular fact pattern or words within these notes of decisions. Do I think that you might get lucky if you type in words and to the big bar and look for them there? Yeah. But this is definitely best practice to say, hey, these are the cases on point for this. Keep in mind as well that we want you to start your research with secondary sources too. So the secondary sources accessible through KeyCite are a variety of amazing sources. First, national ones, like this Employment Discrimination Coordinator. Check that box, hit that folder button, park that into a folder if you like it. There are also others that are more Michigan specific by selecting a publication name by filtering along the side here and then checking for things like Michigan Civil Jurisprudence or Michigan Jury Instructions or Michigan Pleading and Practice. And then hitting apply filters, you winnow down hundreds of secondary sources, again, into a series of much more specific and much more on point resources. Once you open up a quality secondary source, like this section of Michigan Pleading and Practice, it spells out in plain English what the cases say, what the statute says, and then links you to relevant cases that discuss it. And you can see here the statute as well as some cases here. Genuine issue of material fact. Wonder why that's important to make out a prima facie case. And of course, even if you read a proposition of law in the footnotes, it cannot be cited as controlling authority. You need to read the case itself. You need to key cite it. And again, by way of review, a case may have key cite flags in this corner. They may be yellow, they may be red. But even if they're red, they're not an instant deal breaker. You need to figure out what is a bad proposition of law. You may be using the case for something different. We'll try and pull up a case that has that yellow flag in just a moment. The synopsis and the headnotes, which we have in change view, can be connected to more recent cases in more jurisdictions than just your one by clicking on any of those and running search within the headnotes. These incredible layers of detail can help you slice down into the issue with incredible precision, or browse this menu across the top. What is whistleblowing in general? To see the incredible detail of the West key number hierarchy, and clicking into those for cases on that specific point. Once saving things to folders has been done, you can access them across the top. And then remember that the research report brings together all your notes, all your highlighting, and all your headnotes. And again, by way of artificial intelligence, Westlaw's research recommendations, bringing together more of the same key numbers, statutes, cases, and secondary sources that you may not have visited, but might still be relevant to your issue. That concludes a very brief look at the topics that we would discuss during class. But let me also again reiterate that during our regularly scheduled class, I will be hanging out on a Google Hangout, whose link I will send under separate cover. That live event will be going for the entire hour so that way you can connect and pose me some questions. Thank you very much for your understanding. I've truly appreciated